Hey y'all, welcome back to New Slang. I'm music journalist Thomas Mooney, and we're kicking off the week being joined by singer-songwriter Zach Bryan. I actually just got off the phone with Zach this afternoon, and well, I figured there's nothing quite like the present, so let's just go ahead and get this episode out now. I feel like this conversation with Zach was a really organic one, and I was pleasantly surprised with Zach's perspective and thoughts. Obviously, he's humble beyond belief, which I'm sure you can pick up on that earnestness in his lyrics and in his music, but really, it's still one of those things you just never know until you talk with someone. On this one, we talk about songs and songwriting, those early roots, and how those early raw recordings were both kind of like a necessity at the time, but it also helped shape and form and cultivate his sound, and then eventually formed and shaped that fan base. We talk about imposter syndrome, which is a real thing, just put yourself in Zach's shoes for 1 second. You're playing songs that are in the middle of the night on someone's back porch, on a park bench somewhere. And then pretty soon after that, you have this following, this demand for yourself. And then of course, fast forward just a little bit further and you're playing like the Grand Ole Opry and you're cutting songs in Studio A with Dave Cobb. It's kind of an amazing thing, right? I think saying it's surreal would be an understatement. And then we close out by talking a little bit about what's coming in the future. We talk about potential live shows and evolving as a songwriter, and of course, what's coming around the corner on the album front. We'll get to all of that here in about 2 seconds, but first, today's presenting partner is our pals over at Desert Door Texas Soto. If you've been listening to New Slang for really any amount of time, you'll know that Desert Door is one of my all-time favorite premium, high-quality spirits. If you haven't or aren't sure what exactly a Sotol is, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that's going to up the game on your liquor cabinet. For starters, the best reference point that I can point you to is to think about a tequila or a mezcal. Do you feel that Western desert, that Texas ruggedness? Okay, Sotol is like that, but a little bit more refined, smooth, and fragrant. It intrigues the palate and offers these hints of vanilla and citrus. There's an earthiness that often sends me right back to my Trans-Pecos and far west Texas roots. There's plenty to love about Desert Door. For me, it all starts right there. A close second is just how versatile Desert Door really is. You can go full highbrow and experiment with concocting a variety of cocktails that call for muddling fresh fruit, sprigs of thyme, sticks of cinnamon. It's perfect for that world. If you're a little bit more down home, if you've just rolled up the sleeves of your denim Wrangler button-up, it's perfect for that as well. If you're just desiring something that's short and sweet, it hits the mark every time. Desert Door is genuine and authentically West Texan. It's inherently West Texan. They harvest Soto plants out in the wild and are knowledgeable conservationists at heart. That's obviously something incredibly important to me. They shine a light on what makes West Texas special and unique and worth preserving and keeping it safe from exploitation. Right now, you can find Desert Door all over Texas, Colorado, Tennessee, and there's budding numbers in places like New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Georgia. Best thing you can do is to check out desertdoor.com to find where Desert Door is locally. Again, that's desertdoor.com. If this is your first time listening to New Slang, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and virtually anywhere you can listen to podcasts. And of course, one of those 5-star reviews, they go a long way, so leave one of those too. Make a pit stop on over at the merch store. That would be newslangpodcast.bigcartel.com. Over there, we have plenty of t-shirts, coffee mugs, shot glasses, stickers, and so on. If you're wanting even more New Slang stuff, a great way to support this podcast, my 90s country podcast, The Neon Eon, and journalism in general is signing up for my Patreon. You can sign up for monthly merch packs, ad-free episodes, or be a part of our postcard club for as little as $3 a month. And of course, I just mentioned The Neon Eon. That is my 90s country podcast. It's interviews and conversations with and about songwriters, songs, artists, albums, and trends of the era. And of course, I am a print journalist by trade. The latest thing I wrote is an interview with Charlie Marie over on Holler. Go check it out. super easy URL. It's holler.country. And like always, all the links that I just mentioned, they will be in the show notes. Which, yeah, let's just get on into it. Here is Zach Bryan. Just, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Born ready. Let's get it.
Awesome. Well, I want to start off with, you're from the land of Turnpike and Fulbright and all these red dirt singers. Obviously, like, you can tell that is, an integral part of your songwriting background. At what point did you start like discovering all these guys that were all kind of like, in your backyard and in the neighborhood, as far as, was that pretty early on, or were you like a lot of other kids as far as like listening to a lot of top 40 along the way?
Oh no, like me and my friends followed Turnpike religiously while I was a kid, like 14 to 18. We were always just getting rowdy, going down the river in Tahlequah where they're from. And we were so like indebted to them because they were all we listened to for so long. And we would go to every single concert they had. I've been to like 5 Turnpike concerts, but only made it into like one of them because everything got so rowdy beforehand that we never made it in. But Turnpike's always been this just all we listen to, really. So besides them, though, I kind of always had like my buddies and everything. We've always just kind of known the local musicians and things like that. And it's been really cool to come from such a place with songwriters, like even the old ones, Woody Guthrie and stuff. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I always wonder like how, ingrained or aware a songwriter is of like the local talent, because obviously it's so easy to, just pay attention to what's on Top 40 or MTV or VH1. And I'm sure like anyone, there's an aspect of that you grew up listening to, but it's always really, really cool to, when you realize, hey, you know what, there's that one guy who is doing this, and maybe that gives me a little bit of allowance to try it out myself.
And it's so funny because I don't deserve to be where I'm at, kind of with the notoriety and like how much attention I get with my music compared to the guys out here in Oklahoma who are just at these like rundown bars. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy to me how talented people are just next door to you. And that's why I think honestly, it's all just like either a God thing or a lot of luck that gets people to where they're like on a bigger stage. I really don't believe that any artist is better than any other artist. I think it's all about like the people you meet and the places you go,
Yeah, that's one of those things right there. I think everyone has a little bit of talent, like whoever kind of makes it, whoever kind of gets any kind of notoriety, there has to be at least a little ounce of talent in there. And, if someone says like so-and-so is untalented, they're full of shit, but it's all that
exactly
luck.
A bunch of haters, man.
Yeah, it's like people don't want to talk about how luck is involved, or like just right timing, or just meeting that right person who shares something or retweets something.
Oh, exactly. And that's why people just don't like me when I talk, because I'll honestly blame it all on just like on serendipity, like I know that's when people like give my music critiques and stuff. I'm like, I get it. I know I'm not against you, how you feel about my music. I don't like it that much either, but it's all about kind of just like legitimately who shares it, who talks about it, who loves it, who's where when they're there. It's just all about the luck, and that's all I want to talk about because it's just so true.
Right. Well, like early on for you, I guess like you really kind of broke. The first time I saw you was right before you released your first record, and it was just you playing in a backyard on Twitter, and it's one of those things you see it, and the next time it pops up on your timeline, there's like 1,000 more retweets or something, and you're like,
you're just annoyed with it at that point. You're like, dude,
what? For me, like, I'm like, okay, like, what is it that's making people tick about this? Like, what is it? Like, what is it? And I'm
because it's just some kid with a guitar. Same here. I didn't understand it either when it first started. I was just some guy, some white kid, freaking vanilla boy playing guitar on a bench somewhere, and all these people were so intrigued by it, and I was so confused,
Yeah, I that's what I'm mainly like interested in, is how you've thought about this entire rise, because it very much is not necessarily that you didn't work for it or anything. Like there's plenty of work involved. There's plenty of all of those things that that happen that are necessary. All that's part of that. But like this thing where it just happens where, you tapped into something that all these kids were looking for. They didn't necessarily know they were looking for it, but I think it's in the same way that like Coetzel became like really, really big in a different way, but also like these kids were like, oh shit, that's something that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. I think it's just kind of the melodies and the hometown feeling of the tunes that I sing that people are like, oh damn, I do feel that, and I think a lot of it is my lyrics. I feel like I've worked really hard to make my lyrics different than other artists. Like I try really hard to like write actual words that people don't expect in songs, and I feel like a lot of songs are like, you kind of expect the next line to be the next line, So when I write, I try to make it completely relatable and completely simple, but also to where like you don't expect what word is going to come next.
Right. There's this really interesting thing that I've talked with a couple of people when it comes to you, where it's very plain spoken in a lot of ways, in a lot of respects, as far as the storytelling goes. But then there's like this weird, like almost Shakespearean thing sometimes where you can tell like you've come across a word that you're like, I'm going to get this fucking word in a song and try and get a rhyme out of here. And like, sometimes that works. Sometimes it's like a little forced, but like, it's interesting all the same as far as like how you kind of got it in there.
Yeah, exactly. And I was talking with some old boys last night, and I was saying like, man, as a songwriter, you never know what's going to tick, what isn't. You're just writing what you feel like you want to write. And then that's what's weird about it too. It doesn't really make any sense to me either, how some people relate to some songs, some people don't relate to others. And it's such a cool, like little jigsaw puzzle that I work with every time I write a song.
Yeah. Well, take me to kind of like your writing process. Obviously you're in the Navy, you got a lot of other stuff going on right now. What's it like? Do you have to like carve out time to write, or are you one of those guys who, just ideas, you're in that like stage of maybe like what my dad would call like being full of piss and vinegar. So like everything's interesting and everything you're going gung ho. What's the songwriting process like though? Have you been able to slow down, I guess, to carve out some time?
Not really. I'm just kind of an observer, like everywhere I'm at, I'm just observing what's around me. Not to sound pretentious either. I don't think I'm any different than anyone else, but like for instance, yesterday I was on a porch with some family, and I played a show in Houston, or this weekend actually, not yesterday, but I was on some porch with some family, and I thought of like 3 words that went together really well. So I got my guitar out and I just wrote like half a song right there. And then later, probably a week from now, I'll go back to that and write the rest of it. And it's as simple as that. All my friends think I'm like OCD about it. Like I have kind of like a sickness where I just like, I'm always writing something down. Like if it's like one line here, one line there, but it's all about the words to me. Like a lot of musicians sometimes they'll tell me that they get like melodies and stuff stuck in their head. But for me, it's like 3 words that go together or a line that goes together. And then later I'll revisit it. And then it turns out to be a song. And it's such like, there's thousands and thousands of videos on my phone of just me in my truck saying like 5 words or singing 5 words. It's so strange how it works.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing right there. Like, you mentioned a lot of other songwriters, they get that melody stuck in, they get that, whatever that is, the melody, just the rhythm or something like that. Sometimes those though, like the words, you're talking like those 3, 4, 5 words, those phrases, that can create a rhythm in itself that kind of just chugs along.
That's me. Like everyone asks a lot, guitar or lyrics first, and I'm like lyrics always, because I'm just a word guy. So like if I find 5 words that make me feel something, I'll put some sort of melody or rhythm to it that makes it make sense. And a lot of people give me shit because it's like 3 or 4 chords, but honestly, it's all I'll ever need. It's all I'll ever do,
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is like, the Willie Nelson thing, right? 3 chords and the truth.
Exactly. And I've been trying my best to honestly, all year I've been I disappeared for a while. I got a lot of opportunities to like work on my guitar playing a lot. I mean, I had like a teacher teach me and everything. So it was really fun to like explore like that part of me where I can, cause it helps with the words too. If you know the guitar a lot better, you can work around it and put some better words to it as well.
Right. Well, that's interesting because, as you said right there, the more you know your instrument, the more you're able to figure out these different rhythms, these more diverse rhythms, and where you're not just kind of feeling like you're, recycling what you're already been doing or something. So this all ties back to like kind of your rise, and as far as like what's been going on for you. I think like one of these interesting things specifically about your career so far is that for a lot of songwriters, we don't really see those first songs. We've not been privy to hear the first 10 songs that, some prolific songwriter wrote, really. Like it really never works out that way. And it feels like with you, like we're really seeing it as early on as possible. And maybe that's why like you've drawn some criticism from some folks where it's like, well, these are like the first batch. We're seeing you from like the inception of the songwriter to now. And I don't know, maybe give a little time to let those other things, become more refined or whatever the case as you learn that guitar a little bit more, or as you just obviously write more songs.
Exactly. And I get like my friends don't like me a lot sometimes because all I do is sit in a chair and write music and play guitar. And I think that's what I think that's the edge I have on a lot of people is like a lot of like the critics and everything that came along in the beginning that were like, oh, this kid doesn't deserve it. Like he just kind of blew up overnight. They didn't see the first freaking 8 years of me sitting there for 7-8 hours in front of my computer on SoundCloud, like throwing songs at the wind, getting like 2 or 3 likes and playing it. So like the first money I ever made from music, I made $60 from a sandwich shop and I played for 12 hours and it was all originals. And it was like, I don't know, 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
And, but it was just, I spent so much time trying to learn how to write a song opposed to like learn how to play guitar. I learned how to write while other people were learning how to make a song sound good, like with music, And I think that's sometimes when I hear people send me songs all the time. When I hear them, I'm like, this person's really killing it with the guitar and the band behind them and everything. But the words are kind of like, 7, 8, like just kind of subpar. And I think, and mine are no better, by the way. I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything, but we were talking earlier about like the kids who are trying to scratch the surface of like whatever it is that happened to me. I think that was it. I think that's what happened. I just spent a lot more time writing.
Yeah. Well, another part like that I think has been key has been you stay into the singer-songwriter being like that first record, I guess like really the first 2 records, it's like you developed a sound because like almost out of necessity, right? Because you guys cut it yourself. You didn't go into a studio. You didn't hire out a band. It's just you and your friends. And that's I guess like become a part of the process where sometimes I feel like other songwriters, it's like they think, oh, I got to get the band. I got to get like time to cut a record. I need to like start saving money to get all that stuff. And that's fine to do all that.
And it's so, yeah, it is, but it's so strange to me because to me, it's just, so sorry for interrupting, but it's just like, it's music. It's how you feel. It's how you want your music to feel and sound. And like, I feel the same way. And people are so like tedious and they're so like slow and obviously I've learned how to slow down a little bit too, because I know that's what it takes to produce a good record. I learned that along the way. But when I first started, I just looked at other people and I was like, you guys take so long to just record one song. And I've got like 50 sitting here that I just want to show the world. Like, I don't care really how it sounds. I've learned throughout the day, like years, like that's also important. But at the beginning, man, I didn't care. I just wanted the world to hear some melodies,
Right. Well, like that's exactly one of the points I have right there is that sometimes it can feel like others put the cart before the horse and like, they're worrying more about all the other stuff versus like just, hey, do you got some songs? Do you have like those ready? And like, you don't necessarily have to make it, a wall of sound country record, right? You can just do it acoustic,
Exactly.
and you can have, some buddies play little accent pieces here and there. And for some reason that has like resonated more with people than, getting the 5-piece band together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so fun for me too, because I've gotten to see both sides. Like I've gotten to record with some of the best musicians in the world, and I've gotten to record with my friends in a barn, and both places I felt the same, like both places, like I had the meat and potatoes, I had the song. So it didn't matter where I was at singing it,
This episode of New Slang is brought to you by the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, Texas. Blue Light has long been the heart and soul of the Lubbock singer-songwriter scene and has been a home away from home for some of Texas, Americana, country, and rock and roll's finest over the years. Talk with 99.9% of the songwriters who have come out of Lubbock and the Panhandle at large over the past 20 years, and they'll point to just how integral and necessary the Blue Light is. With live music and touring slowly but surely coming back, spots like the Blue Light are getting back to their usual ways as well. That means music every night of the week. Do you want to see that schedule? Well, I've got a few options for you. 1, go to their socials and give them a follow. That is at Blue Light Live on Twitter, at The Blue Light Live on Instagram, and of course by just searching The Blue Light Live on Facebook. They're consistently posting that week's lineup of shows, as well as those heavy hitters that ought to be on your calendar that are coming up on the horizon. 2, check out bluelightlubbock.com as well. There they have the full schedule, the cover charges, time, any of those specials that may be happening. While there, go check out their merch page. They have a wide range of hats, koozies, hoodies, sweaters, beanies, jackets, and so much more. You can, of course, get all of your merch needs when you go see your favorite band take the stage at Blue Light. Just ask the bartender and they will get you all set. Speaking of which, that's another great way of seeing who's playing there. Just go to the Blue Light. It's at 1806 Buddy Holly Avenue here in Lubbock, Texas. And of course, again, that is bluelightlubbock.com. I'll throw a link into the show notes too. Maybe I'll see you there. Okay, let's get back to the show. Right. Has there been any ideas on, recutting any of these songs, or are you comfortable enough letting them live as this, just a lot of these songs just being the acoustic records?
Honestly, I've thought a lot about that, because the second record I cut was in the barn, and a lot of those songs I re-listened to and I'm like, wow, these actually sound pretty bad, and I thought about recutting those, but just like we did, and just calling it the Frostad Road or Frostad Barn recordings or whatever. But also the first record, Deanne, the one that kind of blew up, that record terrifies me, because I never know if I were to recut any of those songs, if there would be a mob outside my door trying to kill me, because those are the cult classic, I don't know, what people started following me for. So I do want to recut those songs. Amazon gave me a chance. They gave me a little bit of money to cut a single. And I thought a long time about it, what song I would pick, and it would probably be Off the End, obviously. And I think it would be so fun, after I've refined myself 2.5 years, to go back and revisit those songs with a little bit of experience, a little bit of salt under my breath,
Right. Yeah. That's something interesting, because, and you're right about the mob, because
yeah.
it's this strange thing where they're your songs, you released them. All of a sudden though, if you got that cult following, those songs become their songs, and that's there's some beauty about that, as far as that's the, that one person who songs come on the radio every 2 songs and they go, oh man, that's my song right there. And it's well, how many songs do you have? How many are your songs? But there's that ownership aspect of it, I guess. But the way I would challenge that mob, those listeners, is hypothetically, had we done it the other way around, where I did have that full band sound, and then I said, hey guys, I'm going to cut you guys an acoustic record. You guys would all
people would have loved it.
So
yeah,
just be open.
Very true. Wow. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope people understand that right there.
and people are just hard. People are hard to deal with. I've learned that too. Not like in a malicious way either. It's just everyone wants something different from an artist. And so it's quite impossible to have a following and like meet everyone's needs. And it just stinks because I'm such like I'm just a pleaser, you know, like I like pleasing people. I like people feeling loved and appreciated and cared about, even my followers, you know, like that's how I want. But I've learned now that the following is kind of so big that there's two halves of it and I can't feed both crowds, you know?
Right. Yeah. You mentioned something a minute ago about, you know, you've got all these songs, obviously everything that's on the record so far, but you know, you got all these YouTube videos of just songs as well that feel like I don't know if this is necessarily the case or not, but it feels like this where you're kind of just, hey, here's a YouTube video of a song I just finished this week. Is that has that been the process as far as what you've been releasing that's not on a record so far?
Oh yeah. See, like I was saying earlier, my friends hate me because I'm always literally just sitting on a chair writing music. It's all I do ever. So I'm also really into like videography and photography and stuff. So that stuff is just for me. I love doing that stuff. I love like cutting songs and making videos for them. And it's my favorite thing in the world. And I write like probably 12, 13 songs a week, and I'll just pick one, honestly. Like when I get bored, when I'm like not working as much, or I kind of have to. I have to create or die, you know, not even in a pretentious way. Again, I just like, if I'm not like making something, I always feel like my day is wasted. So that's just YouTube I made a big deal with the label too. I wanted the YouTube to be mine because I built it. I felt like it was like the first thing in my life that I felt like I had worked really hard at, built it up, and it was mine, you know? So That's why I stay on YouTube, because I love the interactions on there and the people who follow me on there. Like, I started a podcast at one point because I just like loved making those videos and like relating to people. And even the YouTubers on there, right? Like the people who comment on the videos right now, when I post another video, they're always like, oh man, it's like kind of cool for me. Cause sometimes people are like, I literally sat up for 2 days waiting for a Zach Bryan video this weekend. It didn't come, you know? And it just feels awesome. Like people will comment stuff like that. And I'm like, how amazing is it that these people like long for my music enough to where they're willing to like wait up all weekend just for me, just to see like if I maybe post a video or not, when I haven't said anything about it, you know? Because I'll post these videos at like 3 a.m. on Sunday night, you know? So people are always like waiting for it, and they'll be like mad at me because like it didn't upload. It's just so funny to me. And so like it's such a blessing that people care enough.
Yeah, well, that's another thing right there. Is like you've released music in very untraditional ways that like, you know, I think we've all gotten comfortable in this. Oh, you're going to cut a record, you're going to release 4 singles, and you're going to put those singles out like every 6 weeks, and then you're going to put the record out. And, you know, as far as the YouTube goes, it is that like spontaneousness right there. But then even like the way you've cut or you've released these records, it's not like you've had like that lead single on it released the week before or anything like that. Even it's just like a lot of times it's like, hey guys, here's a record I have here. And so I think that's something right there that people love too, as far as that, like, it's like catching, I don't know, like, or maybe it feels like where they're thinking, this guy's always going to be constantly full of surprises, and you just always have to be ready just in case he's got like another record, you know, in the can.
And that's why like my friends and stuff love me and hate me so much too. It's like my life is just absolute chaos with everything I have going on. And I just love like living life to the absolute fullest. And I like doing that through music too, because like we were talking about earlier, music is just music, and it's supposed to help people and stuff. So I don't really relate to all of that like music industry stuff where it's like, oh, you got to do this time limit. You got to take this here and market this way and make this like a machine where people listen on a Friday. You know, I'm like, dude, there's going to be another song. Like we can just release this. Like, I love that stuff because I like being a random guy because I like keeping things fun because we only live once, you know? So I like doing that for other people too. So I think you're right there. And I love that about my following too, is like they never have an issue with it. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Cause all that, I mean, I understand like why the industry does all that stuff to,
of course. That's the thing too. Like I'm never,
But a lot of times I'll just be like, oh my gosh, we're just in the process for the process's sake versus like the art's sake. That whatever the corner of commerce and art sometimes is a very
and is it
difficult
reciprocated?
thing.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like they do all that for a record, and you listen to the record, and it's like subpar, and it took 6 months to release it. And to me, if I were to do, that's the thing too with my music. If I were to ever, I think with this studio album, we're going to try to do this, but we're going to take a little bit of time because the writing on it means a lot more to me. But if I ever have like a collection of songs that I want to call an album and I want to like really blow it up, I would probably take those steps and make sure like to be methodic about it and release it with a single and do everything like how it's designed to be done, like the old ways, you know. But there's a thing in me where like I always feel like I'm going to have another song, so I just kind of want to get the one in front of me out. But also there's another thing that I want to respect the music industry and how it's always been run. I want to respect the artists around me. That's another thing that's terrifying to me. I don't want artists who are doing it that way to think that I'm disrespecting them by just being like, yeah, whatever, let's shoot from the hip, see what happens, you know?
Right. Well, I think it all stemmed from just like the means you had at the time, right? I mean, it's not like you're not like an industry plant who had like a major deal, just a endless budget and then decided to cut an acoustic record to have this, organic following. It kind of just happened that way because out of necessity, right?
Organically, yeah. Exactly, because I was working so much, and I still to this day work so much that like people think it's like part of my big plan, but honestly it's just like I'm off on the weekends. I have weird time slots where I'm at work, where I'm not at work, where I'm on duty, so it looks like spontaneous to them, but to me it's just the only time I'm able to do the stuff, literally.
Mm-hmm. Right. You mentioned how you're writing constantly. You always got that bug going. But has there been like a watershed moment or a watershed song for you specifically where you thought like, oh, I've gotten like somehow I've gotten so much better, and I can point to this song specifically. Has there been any moments like that where you kind of go, oh shit, like I feel like I'm better now than I was, a year ago, and I can specifically point to this moment? Is there anything like that?
Of course. Yeah. This whole last year has felt like that. From like June last year to now, the writing that I've been doing, which I hate to say this because sometimes artists say this and they're talking out of their butt. And, but I've actually practiced and written so much that I remember when I wrote Oklahoma City last year, that was that moment for me where I was like, oh my goodness, I think my writing's getting better. So I just kept going. And some of the songs that are on the upcoming album, they're like, in my eyes, like sitting around fires with all my friends and stuff, singing them those songs, they're pretty dang, they're a lot better than I was. And it's a really prideful thing for me because my friends, my guitar playing friends and stuff, they'll look at me and be like, damn man, way to get better at your craft, way to like really hone in on that. And I didn't stop because I kind of fed off the critiques of like the 4-chord thing or like the simple word thing, and I was like, screw it. Let's just keep going until it sounds better. So Oklahoma City will probably be that song. And I wrote a song called Waterwell recently. And it like the writing on it, I love it so much. And so I'll probably refer back to that 20 years from now and be like, that's the moment I think I wanted to do music forever,
Right. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't know if podcasts will be still a thing in 20 years, but if it is, we'll have it right there. We'll talk about Waterwell.
I hope so.
It's interesting you say Oklahoma City because going through your catalog, that's where I would have pinpointed there being a shift as well. Because I think that's like, you can just tell that there's like that moment on Oklahoma City, that song specifically feels very much where there's still those rough edges, but it's like necessarily rough edges, like because that's your style, but it feels like a very refined song.
That was a song that I sat down for 2 weeks and I went over every single word every single time. And I was like, there's no way in hell someone's going to this song and say, no, that kid doesn't deserve it. I mean, and it wasn't an arrogant thing, expecting people love it or anything, but I tried my hardest on the writing for that. And it worked out really well. Like obviously people know because that's a song that like I get a lot from the people that are like gets them through a lot. So Oklahoma City, that's probably that moment. Now I can't, to this day, I'll sing that song every time I have my guitar, just because it means so much to me, like a grandpa I'm from and everything, and it's beautiful. So that's it for me.
Yeah. So obviously one of the things that people are drawn to you as far as like what they resonate with these songs is they feel very, very much, as you mentioned a minute ago, like that earnestness of small town America, specifically, obviously for you, Oklahoma, but you know, sometimes rural America is rural America, no matter where you're from.
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah.
Is that where like, you know, a lot of these, I know like a lot of songs are that first person kind of thing for you, but you know, you still have these character songs. You still have these like narratives. You've gotten some of these murder ballads in there. Do you feel like, you know, you're all like you're drawing from these little, I don't know, Oklahoma characters that you've come across or people you knew in school back in the day or anything like that? What's kind of like whenever you draw from the most, do you feel?
I want to become, so not yet. I don't think I'm as talented. I don't think I'm that talented yet. I think I have a long way to go to where I can like really build narratives and make them like resonate with people. But that's why I've been writing so many like story songs, because I really want to get like that Evan Felker. I don't know if you know who that is, but the lead singer of Turnpike Troubadours and the Bird Hunters, he has these characters in that song that give me goosebumps every time, but they're just like, it sounds like they're in his life. Like they sound like they're his friends. And I want to get to the point where I can like John Prine, for instance, obviously he was just so good at like making these characters up and making songs not be about himself, but they still just sounded like they were about himself. So that's what I'm working on now, is just to be an all around songwriter and write songs that mean something to me. And also songs that like people are like, damn, where did this guy pull this story from? You know?
Right. Well, I mean, like the storytelling song. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, paying attention, I think helps a lot too. Like I've really slowed down lately, and I started paying attention a lot more to everyone around me, and like the little mannerisms and the little things about like sitting around fires or running around Oklahoma fields barefoot, you know, stuff like that. I've really been just like feeling everything and smelling everything out and being like, that's what I'm gonna write about, you know? So it's fun. It's like a fun puzzle, like I said earlier.
Yeah. Like getting those kind of those scene setters, right? For those characters.
Yeah.
Live in.
Because that's how like Deanne was like in Snow, the song Snow. People love that song because it's so like the imagery in it. It's just crazy. And I've only heard that from other people. I don't think that myself, but I want to get back to that realm where the imagery is what matters the most. Like what you're looking at, not how catchy it is, not the melody or anything. I want the imagery of these songs to be like, you're literally there, you know?
Right. You mentioned Bird Hunters as far as, you know, with Turnpike. That very much is like, you're able to like pinpoint those characters and be like, oh, those are real people. But so much of that song is the setting. So much of the setting in The House Fire by Turnpike is the setting, you know.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean,
like grounded, you know,
made up. Yeah. But they're obviously real in his life at some point, somewhere, somehow in a book or whatever. Like, but they're just so real. Like, you know, those people in your own personal life.
Right. You know, one of the things that going back to one of the YouTube videos, I remember you saying, I think it was, let me see if I wrote it down here. On Cold Damn Vampires, like before you go in, you talk about how, you know, your dad called you and said, you know, you got to use the F word so much, that kind of thing. And then like your buddies called and said, is everything all right? You know,
yeah.
that's something that's really, really funny, because I feel like that's a phase that every songwriter goes through, you know, where,
oh yeah,
not everything is the truth. How many of those conversations have you had with friends and family, or like, have you had to have those, like, you know, not everything I write is going to be dire entry.
Exactly. It gets so weird too, because I feel like it's different if you're just like some kid singing around a fire and you're like singing about death, you know, and no one really knows who you are or whatever. But like with a following and everything, if I'm trying to like be an artist, I feel like it does get really weird, because like you have people in your life that you love and care about, or like maybe ladies, or like your freaking dad, how I said, or like whatever. And you're singing like love songs, and you're singing like murder songs, or you're singing songs about like addiction and stuff. And people people will like hit you up and be like, hey, is this like a real, like my buddy Tyler, he'll call me all the time like, hey, is this one real or are you being an artist? And I'm like, real or he'll ask me stuff like that all the time. And it's just so funny because being a songwriter is so fun because you can literally just make up whatever you want, whenever you want, and make it interesting and creative. And it's just like the only job or occupation you can do that in, besides being an author, of course, but
Yeah. Well, that's something I've had conversations with various songwriters as far as like where, for some reason, like we always believe the songwriter, as the narrator, as like being always consistently the good guy, because they kind of control the narrative. I've had this conversation with BJ Barham where, everyone thinks that like, I hope he breaks your heart. She's like the most awful person in the world for breaking his heart. And like, we never like really think about it on the other way of like, well, he could be the bad guy in the song, guys.
You don't like in like, for instance, in Snow, when I'm like, the night you dumped out all the liquor I bought,
Mm-hmm.
like for some reason in that song, everyone thinks I'm just like this freaking, Zebulon poet, freaking lover boy. But in reality, like in my own real life, when I was 18, like a girl actually dumped liquor out at a bar one time because I was way too drunk, and I was the bad guy in that song, but Snow is such a pretty song that people don't even think about it. It's so fun. It's so weird being a songwriter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the same thing with like Good Lord Laurie. We always kind of think, man, Laurie broke his heart in that song. And it's like, no, he's probably like kind of being an asshole and he probably ruined it for some reason, like there's always that other perspective, but it's interesting how, obviously the person who's writing the song, we always just believe him as like, that's the gospel truth. And sometimes it's like, and I think like a lot of songwriters are self-aware of that, but it's always the audience who kind of sometimes forgets about that part.
Yeah. And it's wild to be in those shoes, but that's another thing though. Like life, I think being a songwriter is a really beautiful thing because you get to reflect as a songwriter, you get to reflect on all those things as a person, like the things that you've done or that have happened, and you can share those with other people, kind of like as that grandpa who's like, hey, I've been through this, you're not alone, or I've been through this, here's how you don't do it. It's really cool.
I want to break one more time to talk about our pals over at Desert Door and offer up a quick Thomas Mooney's cocktail minute. As I've said probably 100 times by now, by no means am I a seasoned mixologist or bartender, but these have been some of my Desert Door go-tos. For starters, let's just go with the tried and true ranch water. Pop the top off the Topo Chico, take a good swig, now pour in some Desert Door, and top it off by throwing in a few lime wedges. Never fails. This one, it's so simple it probably doesn't even count, but again, pretty foolproof. Do the exact same thing, but get you a Mexican Coca-Cola. I guess you can go with a regular one, but you're really cutting yourself short if you don't opt for the Mexican import variety. All right, here's the change-up you've been waiting for. Desert Door Sangria. This one is prime for when you have company coming over and you aren't wanting to just be over there making 6 different drinks at a time. What you'll need is some Desert Door, obviously, a bottle of red wine, honey, boiling water, apple cider vinegar, some cinnamon sticks, a couple of apples, and some thyme sprigs. I know that may sound intimidating, but trust me, it's worth the prep, and honestly, it's pretty easy. For starters, get you a punch bowl, add that honey, those cinnamon sticks, and the boiling water together. Now you're going to want to stir that all up and let it cool down for about an hour or so. Remember, patience is a virtue. Once that's done, add some Desert Door and stir vigorously. Now add the wine, the cider, and the vinegar, and continue stirring until it's equally mixed. Now slice those apples up and toss them in. Put in those thyme sprigs as well. Now you can pour that over some ice and you have a mighty fine sangria. Chef's kiss. Anyway, those have been some of my favorite go-tos as of late. And remember, Desert Door is as versatile as vodka and more refined, smooth, complex, and intriguing than tequila. It's rich in balance, and whether you decide to keep it simple or want to experiment, Desert Door is that perfect Texas spirit. There's plenty more recipes over at desertdoor.com as well. Check out the show notes for a link. All right, let's get back to the episode. You've mentioned obviously how, like the origins of those first records, you're cutting records with buddies and stuff. You just released the EP, I guess last year, and then you guys released the Live at Studio A recordings that you did with Dave Cobb. How was that? So was that drastically different for you, or like what's it been like? I guess like, going into a quote unquote professional studio where, all these fucking crazy, amazing songs have been cut in the history of these places. What's been like that approach for you?
First of all, it's all been just so chaotic because being in the Navy and having to deal logistically with like recording the freaking EP that way and having to record with Cobb and like get to national and stuff. It was just crazy. First of all. And second of all, like, I almost feel like my chops aren't there yet to be in the, honestly, I feel like me always being this like shoot from the hips kind of guy is my own personal subconscious fear that I'm not good enough to be in a studio yet. Like I kind of want to make my songs good enough to even be in a studio, like even put the effort into it, So it was like going to record those records and working with these amazing producers and like, when you doubt yourself, you like look down and you look at the producer and you're like, why is this guy working on this song? Like he doesn't have time for this, kind of like that. But dude, it was the most amazing experience. Like I felt so blessed and lucky to just be this podunk Okie boy, just freaking running around with these grade A guys. And it was just so interesting. I never thought in a million years,
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting right there because I think it's, you I don't know. I'm assuming like anyone who becomes an artist, you kind of always want to work with these people who have worked with some of your heroes, right? You want to,
of course,
get in these places, and then like you're almost going like, oh shit, do I belong here? It's the old I can't even think what it's called. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called. You're not ready, as you were saying right there. You feel like you're not ready for it, and you're just like, oh, can we do this later? And
yeah, can I do this in 3 or 4 years when I got freaking hurt by freaking Travis Retner or whatever? And well, like not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like I've always just been waiting on that song that I'm like, oh, this is the one that I need to go. But well, like boys down in Texas and stuff, they think I'm absolutely batshit crazy because they're like, I told like working with Cobb and stuff, they're like, dude, you work with Dave Cobb, like that's insane. And I don't look at it like that. So everyone just always thinks I'm just nuts because I'm not like a nerd about that stuff. I'm not like pining to work with anybody. I don't like really want to, I don't have like these actual, like, if I don't work with this specific person, I'm not successful or whatever. I'm seriously just that kid who's writing music and just like seeing what happens, like there's not really anyone in my life where I would die to work with or play with. And these guys who are down to Texas and stuff, they like would die to work with Cobb, and I feel like almost like they gave it to the wrong guy. Cause I'm pretty content in most situations. Like I don't need anything fancy. I don't need anything crazy, but here I am like getting to do all this like crazy, amazing stuff that I'm so thankful for,
Yeah. Yeah. What I was looking for is imposter syndrome. I think like a lot of us can have that feeling of like,
there it is.
Man,
yeah. That's the perfect way to explain it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, place that is a little bit bigger and kind of like just one of those things everyone fucking knows, and it's far from the Oklahoma back porch, Grand Ole Opry. You played that about a month ago. What's it like? Take me to like, how that even, what's it like going to the Grand Ole Opry and you're playing, and like, take me through like the first step of that day.
That's imposter syndrome right there. We got we were celebratory because I was playing the Opry. It probably shouldn't have been so celebratory until after. But the night before, we got lost in the Opryland, so I was like, this is a good start. And so I wake up, I got like 20 people there because my whole family was there, so it was just chaos from the jump. And everyone's like walking around Nashville, we're all like being tourists and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I'm walking around Nashville right now, and I gotta play at the Opry in 4 hours. What am I doing? And I just felt like an out-of-body experience. And I got there, and everyone was so kind, and like they literally didn't even let me practice my own songs, but in a good way. They're just so good. You can just play them, and they play behind you, you know? Mm-hmm. And I mean, they did let me practice them, but it was like 2 minutes. They're like on stage, off stage. Have fun. And I'm like, alrighty, let's do it.
Shoot off the hip. That's what it is.
Yep. Shoot from the hip, man. That's how I'm telling you, that's how I'm gonna live the rest of my life because it seems to work so far.
Yeah, that's whenever you realize, you know, like all those guys are like, oh shit, these are like professionals. They don't even have to play like beforehand. They're just reading it and they just know exactly what needs
exactly.
To happen.
They just hear it and they're like, oh, okay, this is beautiful, awesome, I'll do this. Just so crazy.
Yeah, I wonder, like, obviously you're gonna be cutting a record pretty soon, or you're in the process. Somewhere in the middle of that, whatever it is, you know, has it been one of those things where, like, obviously it's one thing to explain to your buddies, like, hey, this is the feeling of what I want on here. Is it different, like explaining it to, you know, quote unquote professionals, where you're like, I want something that feels like, insert like a reference here. Is that?
Yeah, I gotta really like learn how to talk to, because like I said, I do have that like weird imposter thing where like I don't feel like I deserve to be in rooms with like professionals. So like when someone does something that I kind of don't like, but they're a professional, you know, so I'm not gonna say anything to them. I really got to get over that to where I'm like, hey, no, because I know like I basically produced the whole thing in my notebook. I know exactly where I want each sound to be, mm-hmm. And I know for a fact I'm gonna have to kind of get my guts up when I go record it, because I'm going to be really, really picky about like where the instrumentation is and all that. But yeah, it's a huge difference, because your buddies, you can be like, hey dude, fuck off, like play it here, like you dumb idiot, you know, like you're so bad. But professional, you can't really walk in there. Oh, that's why I was nervous with Cobb, because I'd spent so much, like we recorded so many songs just like drunk and freaking stupid and laughing our asses off and stuff. I went in there with Cobb and it was all freaking game day stuff. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. And of course, like he's just been as far as like, you know, working with the guys and girls who have been, you know, really forming American and country music as of late. And I mean, it's Dave Cobb, right? Like the Isbells and the Whiskey Myerses and the Sturgills and so on. I mean, the guy's got a track record.
Oh yeah, it's just insane.
Does he wear the denim jacket no matter what, or is he? Because he
was wearing an Aztec jacket when I was there. He was getting a little festive.
Yeah.
It was like white and had patterns on it. I was like, all right, I'll never forget it.
I think like all of his like promo photos are him in a denim jacket, and I just always like picture him doing everything in the denim jacket now, just because like that's the outfit.
Dude, he goes home and he's cooking dinner just in the denim jacket. He goes to sleep, denim jacket.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I know it's clearly not the case, but that's what's always funny about promo photos. You know, you get dressed up real super nice, and then for me, like, I'm always like, man, those guys, like, that's what they just probably look like no matter what. You know, they're just going to the supermarket. It's
so weird to think about it like a huge artist just like on their back legs, like a grocery store or whatever.
Yeah. Obviously, as you mentioned a minute ago, and we've been talking this whole time about really that busy schedule, you know, being in the Navy, just having like these weird hours. That means like you've not been playing that many shows out in front of live crowds. You've not really gone on like, you know, a month tour or something like that. Is that something that like, that's like what you're more than anything else, you're just kind of anticipating going forward?
Exactly. I'm really excited to play. Like, I feel like I'm itching for it to get to play that show in North Carolina on the 2nd. But, man, I don't know how I feel about touring yet. I want to go on one and just see how I feel about it. Go on like a month run, like you said. And then the only thing I really want to do, like, I'm not Bob Dylan, obviously, but Bob Dylan was like a recording artist for like a long time. He never toured, I don't think. He didn't tour for like a long time just because he was a recording artist. And I'm nowhere near the size nor talent of him. But I'm just saying, like, those exist. So I was thinking about just coming back to Oklahoma for a while and freaking writing music, and write music and recording it and calling it good. But then again, like, all these people have been anticipating me going on tour and playing the music they've been playing for the last 2 years live. So I'm so stoked for that.
Yeah. What are you thinking as far as like that show? What do you want that to be? Are you wanting it to be more of the theater show, or like, small bar kind of intimate settings?
I wanted to be like theaters, man. But like, I played a show in Pineville with like 600 people, and they were all screaming my lyrics, and I want to feel that again because that was just incredible. And now I'm a little bit better, so I feel like it would be just like 10 times more rowdy. But I don't know if people. I know when Childers played at the Paramount in Seattle, we were screaming his lyrics, but no one else was. Everyone was kind of just listening, and I'm like, "This freaking Tyler Childers, what are y'all doing?"
Yeah,
and it was cool.
So I live in Lubbock.
But yeah, I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I do plan on going on a tour eventually just to see how I feel about it. But going back to Oklahoma would work just fine with me too.
Well, if you go back to Oklahoma and you just, play little small song swaps and stuff.
Run around the bars.
Just
hell yeah.
Do that kind of thing. Just the small bars, and just never tell anyone where you're going to play at. Just kind of like 5 minutes beforehand. Hey guys, I'm going to be playing at whatever
pop-up shows.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Dude, that'd be so sick.
What I was going to say though is, like, I live in Lubbock, and whenever Childers released Purgatory, of all places, his like quote unquote like first CD release show was in Amarillo. And so me and one of my buddies drove up there and obviously saw him at a bar called Hoots Pub, and it was like obviously a great show, but like what I found so fascinating was that like all these kids knew those songs. I wasn't like, sometimes Amarillo can be hit or miss on stuff like that, but it was like, as I described it to one of my friends, it was like a lot of these kids are acting like this is the first time they've ever seen music, and there's something really, really amazing about that. And I'm not like, poking fun of them, but that's how like passionate they were about it. And that was really, really amazing, because sometimes people don't get it and they're at a bar to drink, but that first Childers show, I don't know if he's going to be coming back and playing.
Yeah, I do know. That's how Pineville felt. It was like no one had ever heard anyone say any words ever, because everyone was like screaming the entire time. It was just the energy there was just absolutely, it was probably the best night of my life. I'll never forget it. Never forget it as long as I live. And they sent me like a flag and a shirt and everything. And and like the mics went on and everything, but everyone still knew the words. So everyone was just singing as loud as they could in this alley, and, I didn't have a microphone, but the concert went on for like an hour longer.
I was going to say about like you doing your YouTube videos, you've had like what is it called? Like the Bustin' Bronco, the Belton Bronco.
The Belton Bronco, yeah.
Sessions there. How have you liked doing that, as far as like, kind of, where you're not the main focus, you're bringing in other songwriters and just letting them play a song or two in the back of the Bronco?
Dude, I love it. Like that's I was telling you about like my videography earlier. Like I got the camera collection of a freaking. I love video and I love production. I love editing videos, but I also love like good music, and I want people to know that I don't think my shit doesn't stink.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to know that like I know that I don't deserve to be in the shoes that I'm in, and if I have this platform, I'm going to use it to like bring actual artists to the stage, and like let real talent be seen. Like Jonathan Payton and Abby, the last one we did, they were like seriously some of the most beautiful people who had the most beautiful voices, and I'm like, why the hell am I big when these guys are just floating around? That's kind of why I do it. But they're also just a blast to freaking roll around drinking some beers and busting out some music.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like what I've kind of envisioned right there, is that part. It's like, yeah, the ride along and like, the session, that's cool. But you also get to just like hang out and talk about music and drink some beer around a campfire.
It's sick. Yeah, it's so dope. And they'll come out here and we'll all just like hang out. Honestly, like usually I stay at a hotel or whatever, but there's like a fire pit usually everywhere. So we're just all like kind of kick it, just ride around and talk about music, like you said, from all over. It's a blast.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed in that video is that you got like a lot of air fresheners hanging from your rear view mirror.
yeah, just because it smells so bad in there. But yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I never have the goalie to freaking take them off when I get new ones.
That's the first thing I noticed when I was watching. I was like, shit, man, he's got like.
You're like
25 of them.
Damn, bro. How many trees do you need, bro? That's crazy.
But yeah, it's been real great talking with you this afternoon. Thanks so much for taking some time.
It's been perfect, brother. I really appreciate you calling. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that is it for this one with Zach Bryan. Be sure to check out our presenting partners, Desert Door and the Blue Light Live. I don't know, maybe we can get Zach at the Blue Light sometime. There's a thought for you. Again, subscribe if you haven't just yet. Check out the Patreon, the merch store, and so on. And yeah, I'll see y'all later this week for another episode.